Great. Welcome to Cohesity for Storage Field Day 9. My name is Patrick Rogers, and hope you guys all feel right at home. We are fortunate to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day right here in our green-colored offices, so no better place. We have a great...
No better person to announce it.
Yeah. We have
must be sad at Pure and Nexenta where they have to wear orange.
Orange, yeah. No, green's much better for today. Orange is not a good color today. We have a great lineup of speakers. So kicking things off again will be our founder and CEO, Mohit Aaron. And for those of you who know Mohit, I don't have to say anything else. For those of you who don't, he was one of the original developers for the Google file system, became the lead developer there. And then he went on to found Nutanix and became the CTO at Nutanix, and then left Nutanix to found Cohesity in 2013. So he's really the inspiration for the company, and we'll kick things off with an overview of the company itself, our strategy, and some recent milestones. Then following Mohit, we have a deep dive on our data platform, and we'll be getting into some details there with Johnny Chen, our head of engineering. And so Johnny's team has been churning out new releases at the rate of a new release every 2 months, which is great pace. And so there's been a lot of new functionality and capabilities that rolled out just since last fall when you were here last. So Johnny will speak about that, and that core platform underlies all of our use cases. And then following Johnny, we're very fortunate to have one of our SE extraordinaires, Travis McCullough. And Travis will be doing a demo and show just how powerful and simple it is to administer a Cohesity cluster. And then we have after him the illustrious Nick Howell, who will speak about our cloud strategy and some of the work we've been doing around public cloud integration. And then we'll have a short demo that Travis will host for you. We'll take questions as we go, but at the end we'll also have a Q&A session with Mohit and members of the technical staff to go deeper on any particular questions you might have. So with that, let me turn it over to Mohit.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mohit Aaron. I'm the founder and CEO. And I'm going to be talking about Cohesity. And some of my team is going to be talking about the progress we made since the last time. Now, my part, the part that I'm talking about, I'm going to start with introducing the company and talking about the vision. Now, this stuff is stuff that you probably have already heard in the last Storage Field Day in October. But for the benefit of the new delegates here and also our audience who might be watching us for the first time, and also to set the stage for the rest of the discussion, I feel this is important. So let's begin with that. So first of all, about Cohesity. We were founded in 2013, June 2013, and our mission is to disrupt the area of secondary storage. And we are headquartered here in Santa Clara. At this time, we are more than 100 employees. So rapid growth since the last time Storage Field Day happened. And we have a bunch of customers now. Only a few of them are listed here, and many more are in the pipeline, ready to jump to use Cohesity and benefit from it. We have a very strong team. Our engineering, our distributed systems experts, a lot of them come from Google. And other guys come from other notable companies like Netflix, Riverbed, VMware, Nutanix. So a very strong distributed systems DNA happens to be in this company and building what we are building. Patrick introduced me already. I'm the founder and CEO. Moving on to Ricardo. He is our COO. He's not here today, but on the road somewhere. But he was the SVP of sales at EMC for 12 years. And after that, for the next 4 years, he was the SVP of Sales and Marketing at VMware before he joined us. Johnny Chen, who would be talking after me, is our head of engineering. He also joins us from Google. He was in Google Research, and before that in Google AdWords. And finally, Patrick Rogers. He heads our marketing and product management, and he spent a while in NetApp and a few other companies. So that's our team and a lot of other great guys that I don't mention here, but that's us and the team. So let's talk about our vision. So we liken the storage in the data center to an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is what we call primary storage. This is where our customers run mission critical apps. This is where we need strict SLAs. This is where we have Companies like Nutanix, my last company, this is where we have companies like Pure Storage, lots of EMC, this is where they operate. But the bulk of the storage in the data center is not mission critical. It's running non-mission critical apps. And that's the lower part of the iceberg. And that consists of workflows like backups, test and development, analytics. Notice that most analytics is not mission critical. It's okay to spend a few minutes or maybe a few hours extra to get the results you want. A lot of the cloud runs secondary workloads, archiving, file shares, all that stuff is secondary storage, non-mission critical stuff. Doesn't require strict SLAs. So let's now talk about problems with secondary storage. The first problem is that of fragmentation. The space is very fragmented. And that jumps out from this picture itself. All these workflows are typically catered to by different customers. Different vendors. So if our customer wants to get a solution for their backups, they probably have to go to a few vendors like Commvault or Veeam to buy the backup software. Then they have to go buy the storage from someone like Data Domain. If they want to do test and dev, they have to go maybe buy something from NetApp. They want to do analytics, maybe a few Dell servers combined with Cloudera, and so on and so forth. So basically, our customers are juggling multiple licenses. They're dealing with multiple vendors, and they're dealing with multiple UIs. So it's a big manageability headache. That's the first problem, fragmentation. The second problem is that the space is very inefficient. And to recognize that, let's focus for a second on just the backups in that picture. Folks, backups are no more than an insurance policy. People put data on there, and they never use it until the data needs to be retrieved, until the data is lost. So it's a very expensive peace of mind, a necessary evil. So there is that part of the data center that's sitting idle, doing nothing, backups. And there is more activity going on in the other silos, like test and dev and analytics. That's the first problem. So there is an imbalance in the data center. The second problem is whenever we need to use that data, whenever we need to use the data that resides in your backup environment, we first have to copy it to either a test and dev environment or maybe an analytics environment, and then start some number crunching on that. So let's think about it. If a development team comes to an admin and says, hey, I want to test and dev environment, they first have to procure hardware for that. That's going to take days, if not weeks. And that's a productivity killer. Second, once that hardware has been procured, they have to go start the process of copying the data. And if you move hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of data, that's going to take a while. And finally, when the data is moved to a test and dev or analytics environment, you create copies throughout the data center. Typically, our customers have multiple test and dev environments and multiple analytics environments, and maybe a few copies exist in file shares and the cloud. So we are plagued with copies throughout the data center, and copy data management itself has been recognized by analysts such as IDC to be a $44 billion problem worldwide. Bottom line, the space is very inefficient. Lots of copies, lots of silos, parts of the data center which are no more than an insurance policy, other parts that are a little bit more active, so that's a big problem. The third problem is that of dog data. We did a survey of hundreds of IT professionals, and one thing they agree on is that the data in the secondary storage space is increasing by 50% year over year. But what they don't know is why is it growing like that? What applications are taking more space? What users are taking more space? How many copies of data do they have? And very importantly, they don't even know whether their storage in this lower part of the iceberg, whether it even complies with their security policy. For example, if there's a bank and it wants to ask a question, hey, is there a social security number being stored in plain text? They really can't answer that easily unless they move all this data into perhaps an analytics environment, and that's prohibitively expensive. So they almost never get answers to such questions. The result is most security leaks happen out of the secondary storage. The Sony leak that happened recently happened out of secondary storage. So these are three big problems: fragmentation, inefficiency, and the problem of dark data. This problem that people don't have insights into what's going on is referred to as the problem of dark data. So that brings me to our vision. Our vision is to build an infinitely scalable, storage platform, something that is web scale, something that scales in a Google-like way. It never stops scaling. It's not like you build 4 nodes and it stops scaling after that, or 8 nodes. It literally scales infinitely. And then we take all the workflows I talked about in my last slide, and we consolidate them on this one platform, and that results in what we call hyperconverged secondary storage. That's our vision. And let's go for a second and talk about how it addresses the problems I referred to in my last slide. The first problem I mentioned was that of fragmentation. When we have a platform that runs all the workflows, there is no need to go to multiple vendors and buy multiple licenses and work with multiple UIs. So gone is that fragmentation. The second problem I talked about was inefficiency. When you're on one platform, and by the way, our platform globally deduplicates stuff. When you write something on one node, it gets deduplicated against anything that was written on any other node in the system. So when you have that, there are no copies. So gone is that inefficiency. There are no silos. There is no such thing as an insurance policy in your data center that's sitting there doing nothing, like backups, because this platform is actively doing other stuff, like analytics, like test and dev, right? So there's no inefficiency left because of this approach. The third problem that I talked about was that of dog data, where our customers don't have insights into what's going on in secondary storage. And that goes away because remember that analytics is one of the workflows that we consolidate on this platform, and using that analytics, we can shine a light on that dog data. We can tell our customers why their space is growing the way it is, how many copies, well, there are no copies, but insights like, is there a social security number stored in plain text? We can provide answers to those questions in place. That's our vision, hyperconverged secondary storage. So I want to move on next after the vision and show a legacy data center the way it might look like today, and then show how we come in and morph that into the next generation data center and how Cohesity can help achieve that. So let's look at the next picture. So here is a picture showing a data center that's running some primary storage. These may be your EMCs or pure storage or something like that. This is not what we do. Physical servers on the top, some virtual machines in the middle, databases at the bottom, and then some storage where all the data is kept. And let's look at the traditional backup environment for a second. So in order to do backups, and in this picture we're doing the backups of physical servers. So this thing in the middle is called a media server. This is where we run our backup software, like a ComWard or a Veeam. And then we write the backups to a piece of storage that sits on the right. We call that target storage. That's your typical data domain or something like that. And then all this is managed using a master server. That's a typical backup architecture. And since these guys, the media server in the middle and the target storage, typically they don't scale out. If you need to back up your virtual machines, you probably need another media server and another piece of target storage. And if you need to back up these databases, that might require more media servers and more of those target storage boxes. That's a typical backup environment, and I think you can see the fragmentation right there. But that's not the whole of secondary storage. Secondary storage involves more stuff. There might be some tape activity going on. People might be putting some stuff on tape. That has to be managed, and that's one more vendor. And there might be some file shares, non-mission critical file shares that users in the org might be using, and some test and dev, and some analytics. And each of them requires some storage, which is shown on the right. And all that storage probably keeps a copy of stuff that already resides on your backup environment. And finally, public cloud is the next big thing. And so what we might have is we may have a cloud gateway that is pushing stuff to the cloud. This is the legacy architecture that you might see today in a typical data center. This is how fragmented it is. This is how inefficient it is, with lots of copies, lots of silos. Now let's talk about how Cohesities come in and they can fix stuff. We are a very legacy. We are hyper-converged, so we can address all of these problems. But our customers don't have to rip and replace everything in the same go. So for example, they can come in and they can maybe replace that target storage with us, with the Cohesity, right? And we infinitely scale, so if it fills up, you can just add more Cohesity boxes and we'll scale out infinitely, right? And by the way, notice how the rest of the secondary storage here stays the same. So we're a very leg-in solution, right? The next thing they can do is they can, maybe our customers can use the backup software that comes embedded in the Cohesities and start using that for doing their backups. And so the master servers and the media servers, all those get, the functionality gets put into the Cohesity, and the Cohesities can also manage your tape devices. So we provide a single pane of glass to manage all that. The next step might be to even get rid of the storage on the right and get rid of those copies. And start using the cloning technology in the Cohesities to even do that. And in fact, the Cohesities can also act as the gateway to the cloud and do cloud integration for you. So that's hyperconverged secondary storage. Using a single pane of glass, we can manage pretty much whole of the pieces in secondary storage. That's what we are about. That's how we incrementally get in. Once we get into a data center, we can incrementally solve our customers' problems. That's who we are.
Do you provide native integration to tape then within the platform now?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll make Curtis happy.
Now I'm going to cover recent milestones, especially for people who were here last time. So this is the recent stuff that we've done since then. So we've released version 2 of the Cohesity data platform. We have done public cloud integration, and we'll show demos today to demonstrate that. We have several customers, both paying customers as well as customers trying our product. In total, we are protecting at this point more than 15 petabytes of data. Dan Warmenhoven, who's Mr. NetApp, he was the CEO of NetApp for 15 years. He joined our board as the independent board member. We are funded by Sequoia. Our lead investor is Sequoia, and then Wing Ventures is the other investor that sits on our board. And Dan, he brings 2 decades of experience in storage to us, and so that was a great thing. We've signed a lot of channel partners, so we're now expanding our footprint through our channel partners. So more than 40 plus channel partners signed, and we've recently made alliances with the Pure and Google, and more alliances are on the way. So these are all the progresses we've made since the last 6 months we were here. And now I'll let some of my colleagues talk about some of this new stuff.
Can I ask a question before we move on? You've given some clear examples there of secondary data, things like the file shares for the dev. But I think the challenge is a lot of customers maybe don't know what their secondary data is.
And that's the problem of dark data.
Yeah, so it's all sitting there on their traditional main array.
Yeah.
How do you ingest it? How do you get it from that traditional array into this secondary storage?
So we start with what they are already aware of. They're already aware of maybe backups, right? So we get in there through backups. Now we ask them, okay, are you running some test and development, right? Then they realize, oh yeah, well, we didn't quite realize that that's actually secondary data. And we're like, do you realize you can run it on us, right? You don't need a separate system to do that. Then we may do the same thing with analytics. Do you need to get some insights from this data? Do you really have to move it to analytics environment? Can you do it on us? Can you do some simple analytics on us? So that's how we incrementally educate our customer. You don't have to do it all at once. You start with what the customer already knows about, and then as we are there, we kind of help the customer with that.
And again, how would I move from a traditional approach to your approach? Let's say at the moment I'm backing up to tape. I've got absolutely terabytes worth of tape, and I want to move to your solution. How do we move forward?
So most customers that we start with are moving to a disk-based backup solution, and they may also be moving to tape. The trouble is that the backup solution they're using doesn't scale. They're paying per terabyte pricing for the backup software. They're pained by that. The first thing they can start easy is if they're using disk-based backups, you can replace us with that, like I discussed there, with us. And that's like a very easy replacement. We provide NFS and SMP protocols. It's distributed. So it's really, they can continue using their backup software to write to us. Nice. And then we start educating them that, okay, you can use the backup software that comes with us. And the next time they come up for license renewals, you can use our backup software.
Sure, but what about the legacy backup? So I've got like 10 years worth of data on tape. How do I?
So you can keep that data in tape. I mean, some of the legacy stuff can remain, and things can get phased out over time. But we can take over that management over time. So this is something that we work with customers on. So through that single pane of glass, we can start taking over some of that. So we can use their traditional backup software and run them on us. We don't do that today. Eventually, and then start recovering data from tape through our UI. Yeah.
Can you expand a little bit on the Google appliance? What does it mean, alliance with Google?
So we are in the cloud archival demo. We will show that we actually can archive to the cloud and do stuff on the cloud. So for example, we can archive to Google Nearline, and that's where the alliance comes in. and I'll let Johnny talk a little bit more about that. So, and the demos will show that happening actually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with that, I want to hand off to Johnny, who's going to talk about the platform. Is there a question?
I don't know. I don't know if it's worth asking, but so you really didn't like the copy data management term and decided to come up with your own term.
Well, notice that copy data management is a subset of what we do. We are about consolidating secondary storage. Copy data management, for example, doesn't do analytics.
Doesn't do what?
It does not talk about doc data. It doesn't talk about analytics. It doesn't talk about integration with the cloud, which, by the way, if you integrate with the cloud, the archive to the cloud is probably another copy. So in a data center, we are consolidating the copies, but we also take over consolidation of stuff such as tape, where there might be another copy, and there might be a copy in the cloud for archival purposes. So copy data management, in my mind, doesn't encompass all of this stuff.